First try on, here we are. Finally, I get to try this thing on. It's not a very fitted garment, so it's not going to be a complex fitting process, but there are a few things to look at. If I take a little dart there, look how well that fits over there. Shoulders are not quite wide enough. It might be that the shoulder needs taking up a little bit here, but a certain amount of this is about posture. Now I've got this sorted up here, we can go to the hem. We've got a little bit too much length at the front and it needs to be a little bit longer at the back. It's looking better. So all of these changes I'm now going to mark on the pattern, and then we're on to sleeve and collar. just drafted a basic sleeve pattern. So this is the standard sleeve. So this book, same drafting book again, shows you how to draft a variety of different sleeves with different degrees of 1890s grade extra. All of them you start with the plain sleeve, and then you embellish that with whatever size of sleeve head you want. So there are various different recipes, I suppose you could call them, drafts for making various different sizes of sleeves. Now we've got the plain sleeve, we can make it into the sleeve we want, but with all of these different size sleeves, which one do we do? I mean, we're left once again looking at the picture of the original coat going, how big is that sleeve head? I don't know. Is that huge? Is that small? Is that medium-sized? Is that a little bigger? Is that 1 inch above? Is it 2 inches? As the coat has been mounted on the mannequin in the pictures, and in my pictures, is that sleeve appearing as it would have done back in the day? Has it drooped a bit over the last 100 years? So I did find a clue that I thought might make it easier to figure out exactly how big the sleeve is supposed to be. So here's our coat, and you can see here's our big sleeves. They're clearly bigger than your average sleeve, your plain sleeve, but how big? For the purposes of drafting a pattern, we need to know exactly how big. What we noticed, if you remember from a few videos ago, this little diagram is actually very accurate. And you can see these little lines at the top of the sleeves. They aren't folds, they're actually little darts. Usually you would gather a sleeve, and they are gathered at the back, but on the top and at the front there are little darts. And we've seen that in this pattern draft, which is why I chose this book. You can see how they've shown you how to draft in these little darts to the top of the sleeve so that it will pull it in the same way as gathering it would in a normal sleeve. Just to take that fabric and gather it in enables it to fit into the armhole. So I know not everybody watching this sews, so you can imagine how a flat piece of fabric has to gather in at the top so that it'll go over the top of your arm. A very unusual way of doing it that I haven't seen before is to put these little darts in the top, and this pattern shows you how to do it. And here's how I've figured out which sleeve I'm going to need. I'll get a pencil and show you. The bottom of these darts all come around this dotted line. And if you read the instructions, this dotted line is the top of your plain sleeve. When you're making any of these enlarged sleeves, for the 1890s, very fashionable at the time, you start with this very plain sleeve, which is what I've just made, and then you modify it. Now here's the line of the original sleeve, the plain sleeve, and it shows you how to draft it a bit bigger to make that big puffy sleeve. And here is another version that's even bigger, where you can see the dotted line again. This is where the plain sleeve started out, and they've actually turned it backwards and forwards, and you sort of trace around to here and trace around to here, and then you continue all the way over the top to make that huge sleeve. So you take the plain sleeve, dotted line, and you make it bigger. And the way these darts have been done is that this dotted line is the top of the plain sleeve, and then you put your little darts into the extra that you've added on the top. So if I could figure out how long those darts are going to be, I could figure out how much bigger my sleeve is going to be than my plain sleeve. If we look back at the picture again of our coat, can you see the dart on the top of the sleeve comes all the way down to here? Now, it may not be that the dart goes exactly down to that, that's where we can see the fold in the fabric, but that's quite a long way. I mean, if you compare that to the length of the shoulder, there's quite a long way going on there. So I don't think it's not going to be an enormous leg of mutton sleeve from 1895, which is very fashionable in that very middle of the 1890s. It's not going to be huge ballooning sleeves, but it's going to be fairly big. Going back to these, here's my plain sleeve. Here's the little bit bigger enlarged sleeve. Here's the quite a bit bigger enlarged sleeve, and then after here we go into your medium full leg of mutton sleeve and your full leg of mutton sleeve, which was the fashionable name at the time. I think I'm going to go with option 2, the not little bit enlarged, but the little bit more enlarged version. So sleeve with enlarged top. So I'm just going a little bit on instinct, but that distance there is going to be a little bit less than the length of the shoulder. So I think looking at this picture and comparing the length of that with just by eye, this one seems to be the one that rings true to me. So that's just my sort of little bit of reasoning that's not exact in any way at all, but it's a guide that gets me a bit closer and means I'm not just stabbing in the dark as to which sleeve it should be. And I'm also going to go, I think it's either this one or this slightly smaller one, so I'm going to go slightly on the bigger side, so I can always pin it in and say, oh, I need to be a bit smaller when we mock it up. You can always pin it in a bit smaller, but you can't make it bigger without drafting a whole nother sleeve. So I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to be taking my plain sleeve, swinging it back, swinging it forward, creating this much bigger sleeve, and then adding these little darts in. So that's what I'm going to do now. So this is my first try on of my sleeve, and I think it's looking about the right size. I think we're all right with the puffiness of it, and clearly this is not gathered up quite as much as it could be, and it's not in the coat, but I just want to quickly try it on and see if it looks right before I start trying to set it into the armhole, which is always a pain. I'm liking the size. I think we've got the right size sleeve. But what I'm seeing is these 3 darts that I've put in around the front and all those gathers around the back aren't looking right. On the original coat, you can see a dart here. That's right. The real problem here is that I didn't look closely enough. You can always look more closely and more slowly. I thought I could see 3 darts at the front, gathering at the back. That's not what you can see at all. So looking more closely at the pictures on the website, at the pictures in the books, and the picture of my draft, I'm seeing 1 dart here, so that first one is right, 1 right on top, and 1 a little way back. So I think we need different darts, not the 3 at the front. You remember there were 5 darts all the way around the sleeve. I don't think we just need the first 3. I think we need the first 1 at the front, 1 at the top, and the 1 a little, different darts. And I think it needs to be gathered a little bit all the way around, not darts here, gathers there. So I just haven't looked closely enough. So this is always the value of mock-ups and of looking closely in the first place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this sleeve apart at the top, take out the gathers, take out the darts. I'm going to look again and see if I can put in different darts. I also think the darts don't need to be as big as this. I think they need to be smaller and there needs to be less dart and more gathering, if you see what I mean. So this is just experimentation now. It's very puffy. But as I said before, the coat in the museum probably was a little puffier and a little more lively in the sleeves when it was new. It may have had a little pad in here. Somebody was asking this actually, would it have had anything else in it to keep it up? Would it have had help? Sometimes these sleeves had a little pad. Sometimes they were made with an extra layer of something like tarlatan just in that top section, just to keep it a bit stiffer. And this is quite a sturdy, stiff fabric, this calico or muslin in the US, that's used for mock-ups. So, I don't know, I'm kind of moving around in it, but not doing anything to, oh, it's wrong, or I'm not adjusting it instinctively, I'm just looking at it. So I think I might be happy with it. I've not gathered it in perfectly, but this was just to get an idea. But I think we're there. I think I'm happy with that. Happy enough to put it in my coat mock-up. So here we have sleeves and collar. It's looking rather good. I think I'm rather pleased with it. I've had another little go at these darts. I've made them a bit shorter and a bit more angled so they look a bit more attractive. And I'm liking the sleeves. They could look, I mean, you could argue that they're a bit puffier than the sleeves on the original coat, or they look like it here. This is calico. It's a bit stiffer perhaps than 100-year-old velvet. They may have looked as puffy as this originally. I don't know. We can only guess. I could take a little bit out because they do look a little bit puffier than the original one, but I don't know. So those darts are still very long, so I think this might have been the size of them. What do you think? Tell me what you think in the comments. Collar looking good. Clearly, in the event, it's going to be wired, so it'll stand up a bit better. So I literally put a hat pin through my hair to try and hold it up and see what it looks like. It is rather lizard-like and wonderful. So, I don't know, it's looking remarkably good, I think. Don't you think? I'm very pleased with it. This is how it looks, the complete mock-up. We're now going to go into getting an embroidery pattern drawn onto the pieces and sourcing some fabrics, of course, so we can actually get started on the real thing. But before all that, do you have an idea for an incredibly ambitious project like mine? Whatever ambitious means to you. The foundation's revealed, competition is coming. The deadline is in February, but you need to start now. Too many people wait until the last minute. So this year, we are making the competition more welcoming and more inclusive than ever. And one of the things that we are doing brand new is we are doing a free 4-day workshop. Not all day for 4 days, but over 4 days. And we are going to be teaching you how to nail your competition entry. How to pick a project that is big, but not too big. How to plan your process from beginning to end so you're not cramming at the end, so that you don't have to scale back your vision at the last minute. And just how to plan it out so that you get it right. And we will be looking at past competition entries, at what really works when you're entering, when you're writing that text and you're submitting photos, really works to make a great competition entry that really stands out and might even win a prize. So that 4-day workshop is coming on September the 16th to 19th. And there is a link below where you can sign up to our mailing list so that you will hear all about it. So while you're doing that, I am going to go and start drawing flowers on this thing and sourcing some fabrics. And I will see you there, Friday, September the 16th.